Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. Energy flows where attention lives, and this is not a metaphor. It is a literal operating principle of consciousness. Your attention is the steering wheel of your life, wherever it rests consistently. Energy gathers, it strengthens, and it begins to take form. Most people believe they are victims of circumstances, of luck, or external forces, but in truth, they are living inside the results of where their attention has been trained to dwell. Attention is not just what you look at. It is what you emotionally return to again and again. You may say you want abundance, peace, or success. But if your attention habitually goes to worry, to comparison, to lack, or to fear, that is where your energy is being invested. Energy follows attention, the same way water follows gravity. It does not judge. It does not argue. It simply moves. This is why effort alone does not create change. You can work hard, you can plan obsessively, and you can repeat affirmations. But if your attention keeps returning to what is wrong, what is missing, or how long it is taking, you are feeding the very states you want to escape. Attention acts like fertilizer. Whatever you focus on grows stronger, more familiar, and more dominant in your experience. Most attention is unconscious. People think they control their focus, but in reality, their focus is controlled by emotional habits. The mind drifts automatically to what feels unresolved, threatening, or important. This is not because those things matter more, but because the nervous system has been trained to scan for danger and lack. Without awareness, attention becomes reactive instead of intentional. Reactive attention leaks energy. Every time you react emotionally to something, an opinion, a delay, a fear, a memory, you feed it energy. The problem is not the event itself, but the attention you give it afterward. One moment of reaction can turn into hours of mental replay. That replay is not harmless. It is sustained attention, and sustained attention creates structure. Structure becomes reality. Energy mastery begins when you realize you are not required to follow every thought your mind produces. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Attention is the choice point. When you stop automatically feeding certain thoughts with attention, they weaken. When you repeatedly redirect attention toward calmer, more expansive assumptions, those states strengthen. This redirection does not require force. Force creates resistance. Resistance locks attention in place. Gentle redirection is far more powerful. Each time you notice your attention drifting toward fear or lack, and calmly bring it back to a grounded assumption such as things are working out, or this is temporary, you are retraining the flow of energy. At first, this feels unnatural. That is because your current reality was built by years of unconscious attention. The mind prefers familiarity, even if familiarity is uncomfortable, but energy responds to repetition, not preference. What you repeatedly attend to becomes familiar. Familiarity becomes normal, and normal becomes real. Attention also shapes identity. Over time, you become what you focus on. If your attention is constantly on problems, you begin to see yourself as someone who fixes, struggles, or survives. If your attention is on solutions, growth, and alignment, you begin to experience yourself as someone who moves, who expands, and who receives. This is why two people can live in the same circumstances and experience completely different realities. Their attention is invested in different layers of the same moment. One sees obstacles. The other sees signals. One feels delayed. The other feels guided. Energy follows whichever interpretation receives attention. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between imagined focus and real focus. When you mentally rehearse conversations, fears, or worst-case scenarios, your attention energizes them as if they were happening now. The body responds. The nervous system reacts. The subconscious receives instruction. Reality later mirrors that internal rehearsal. This is why mental discipline matters, not rigid control, but awareness. Awareness allows choice. Choice allows direction. And direction creates momentum. Energy mastery is not about ignoring reality, it is about choosing which aspect of reality you feed. Every situation contains multiple meanings. Attention selects which meaning becomes dominant. Dominant meaning shapes response. Response shapes outcome. Even frustration follows attention. The more attention you give to what shouldn't be happening, the more energy you pour into resistance. Resistance does not remove obstacles. It energizes them. Calm observation, on the other hand, starves resistance. What is not fed loses strength. This principle applies to money, to relationships, to health, and to opportunity. When attention is locked onto not enough, scarcity expands. When attention rests on movement, flow increases. When attention lives in appreciation, even neutral appreciation energy stabilizes and opens new channels. Importantly, attention does not require belief to work. You do not need to believe something fully for attention to energize it. This is why worry manifests outcomes people don't want. Worry is focused attention infused with emotion. Emotion amplifies energy. Amplified energy accelerates manifestation. Mastery comes when you learn to separate attention from emotion. You can notice a thought without feeding it emotionally. You can acknowledge a circumstance without energizing it. This creates internal space. Space restores power. Silence is also a form of attention mastery. When you stop mentally narrating everything, energy settles. Settled energy becomes coherent. Coherent energy is creative. People who appear powerful are not necessarily smarter or luckier. They simply manage attention better. They do not scatter it. They do not leak it through reaction. They do not invest it in outcomes they do not want. Every day, attention is spent like currency. You can spend it unconsciously, or you can invest it deliberately. Unconscious spending leads to energetic debt fatigue, frustration, stagnation. Deliberate investment leads to clarity, momentum, and alignment. When attention is aligned, effort decreases. Things begin to feel easier, not because life changes instantly, but because resistance dissolves. Resistance is attention fighting itself. Alignment is attention moving in one direction. Energy follows that direction faithfully. Once you understand this, manifestation stops being mysterious. You no longer ask why things aren't working. You observe where your attention has been living. You gently correct it. You repeat. Over time, reality reorganizes without force because energy has no choice. It must follow attention. Your emotional state is your real currency because emotion determines the quality, the speed, and the direction of energy flow in your life. Money, opportunities, relationships, and outcomes do not respond first to logic, intelligence, or effort. They respond to the emotional atmosphere you live in most of the time. Emotion is the signal. Circumstance is the echo. Most people believe currency is something external. Cash, credit, assets, numbers. But before money moves in the physical world, it moves in the emotional field. The subconscious mind does not ask how much money you want. It asks how safe, stable, or threatened you feel. Emotional stability invites expansion. Emotional chaos invites contraction. This is why two people with equal skills and opportunities experience radically different results. One operates from calm expectation, the other from tension and urgency. Calm communicates safety. Urgency communicates lack. Reality responds accordingly. Emotion is not just a feeling, it is a physiological state. Your nervous system constantly broadcasts information about whether you feel safe, pressured, confident, or overwhelmed. Life mirrors that broadcast. When your system feels unsafe, reality presents challenges that match that frequency. When your system feels grounded, reality opens pathways. Many people unknowingly block abundance because their emotional baseline is anxiety. They think worry equals responsibility. They think stress equals effort, but stress does not attract results. It repels them. Stress tells the subconscious that resources are scarce and danger is near. In response, the system shifts into protection mode, not expansion mode. Protection mode focuses on survival, not growth. Survival prioritizes holding on, minimizing risk, and avoiding loss. Growth requires openness, trust, and movement. You cannot operate both modes at once. This is why people often experience financial breakthroughs. during periods of emotional relief after letting go, after surrendering, after deciding to stop fighting. It is not coincidence. Relief signals safety. Safety unlocks flow. Your emotional state also determines how long things stay. Many people can attract money, attention, or opportunity briefly, but cannot hold it. The reason is emotional incompatibility. If abundance creates fear, pressure, or overwhelm, the subconscious will remove it to restore emotional balance. The system always prioritizes emotional equilibrium over material gain. This is why sudden wealth often disappears for people who are emotionally unprepared. Their nervous system interprets abundance as instability. Instability triggers self-sabotage, not because they are flawed, but because the system is doing its job restoring what feels familiar. Familiar emotional states feel safe, even when they are uncomfortable. A person who grew up in chaos may feel uneasy in peace. A person conditioned to struggle may feel suspicious of ease. Emotional familiarity outweighs conscious desire. This is where energy mastery becomes essential. You do not need to force happiness. You need to normalize calm. Calm is expandable. Excitement spikes and crashes, but calm sustains. Many people chase high-vibration emotions, thinking they must feel joyful, grateful, or excited all the time. This creates emotional pressure. Pressure destabilizes the system. The subconscious reads pressure as urgency. Urgency implies lack. Neutral positivity is far more powerful than forced enthusiasm. Feeling steady, grounded, and okay is a stronger signal than emotional highs. Stability attracts consistency. Emotion also shapes perception. When you are anxious, you see fewer options. When you are calm, perception widens. Wider perception reveals opportunities that were always present, but previously invisible. This is why emotional regulation directly impacts income, creativity, and problem solving. It is not about being positive. It is about being regulated. Unregulated emotion distorts reality. Regulated emotion clarifies it. Your emotional currency is spent every time you react. Reaction spends energy without return. Response invests energy deliberately. Response requires pause. Pause restores choice. When you pause before reacting, you preserve emotional capital. Preserved emotional capital becomes confidence. Confidence attracts cooperation from people, systems, and circumstances. Emotion also affects how others respond to you. Humans subconsciously read emotional signals. A regulated person feels safe to trust. A chaotic person feels unpredictable. Trust opens doors, unpredictability closes them. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. Money itself responds to emotional tone. If money feels stressful, heavy, or threatening, it avoids you. If money feels neutral and supportive, it circulates. Money is energy. Energy moves towards safety and stability. You do not need to love money. You need to stop fearing it. Fear compresses energy. Acceptance expands it. Your emotional relationship with time is also part of this. Currency. Impatience drains energy. Waiting with calm preserves it. Panic shortens timelines mentally but lengthens them physically. Motion determines speed. Many people unknowingly delay manifestation by emotionally monitoring results. Checking, worrying, counting, and doubting create emotional noise. Noise scatters energy. Scattered energy produces inconsistent results. Quiet emotional certainty concentrates energy. Concentrated energy moves faster. This is why silence is powerful. Silence stabilizes emotion. Stabilized emotion increases authority. Authority is not dominance. Authority is inner coherence. When your emotions are coherent, reality responds clearly. Your emotional state also affects intuition. Intuition speaks softly. It cannot compete with emotional turbulence. When emotions settle, intuition becomes audible. Following intuition often leads to effortless outcomes. Effortless outcomes feel lucky to observers, but they are simply the result of emotional alignment. Energy mastery does not mean suppressing emotion. Suppression stores tension. Tension eventually leaks. Mastery means allowing emotion to move without letting it direct identity. You can feel fear without becoming fearful. You can feel sadness without becoming stuck. You can feel doubt without reorganizing belief. This separation preserves emotional currency. Every time you feel an emotion without obeying it, you gain power. Power accumulates quietly. Emotional mastery is not coldness. It is warmth without chaos. It is presence without panic. It is confidence without force. When your emotional state becomes your ally instead of your enemy, life stops resisting you, because life is not responding to what you want. It is responding to how you feel, being who you are. Reaction leaks power, because it hands control of your energy to something outside you. The moment you react automatically, you surrender authorship of your inner state. Your attention is pulled outward, your emotions are hijacked, and your energy is spent without intention. Power is not lost because something bad happened. It is lost because you responded unconsciously. Reaction is fast, emotional, and rooted in conditioning. It comes from past patterns, not present choice. When someone says something triggering, when a delay appears, when an unexpected problem arises, reaction jumps in before awareness. In that moment, the nervous system takes over. Energy drains into defense, justification, anger, fear, or urgency. Response, on the other hand, is deliberate. It includes a pause. That pause is everything. In the pause, energy is retained, choice is restored, direction becomes possible. Without the pause, energy escapes instantly. Most people confuse reaction with strength. They believe reacting quickly means being decisive or confident. In reality, reactivity is a sign of unregulated energy. The most powerful people are not the fastest to respond, they are the slowest to react. Reaction creates emotional leakage. Emotional leakage weakens manifestation because energy becomes scattered. Scattered energy cannot build momentum. It dissipates before it can take form. Every reaction reinforces the identity behind it. If you react like someone who is threatened, you reinforce an identity aligned with vulnerability. If you react like someone who is impatient, you reinforce an identity aligned with delay. Identity follows reaction patterns. This is why repeated emotional reactions create repeating life patterns. Reality mirrors the state you most often occupy. If reaction is your default, chaos becomes familiar. If response becomes your habit, stability increases. Reaction also distorts perception. When you react emotionally, you see less clearly. The mind narrows. Options disappear. Everything feels urgent or personal. In that narrowed state, decisions are made that often create more problems later. Response widens perception. When you pause, the nervous system settles. Settled system, see more. More vision leads to better timing and better outcomes. Energy mastery requires recognizing that not every stimulus deserves a response. Many things gain power only because attention reacts to them. When attention withdraws, their influence weakens. Silence is often the most powerful response. Silence is not weakness. It is containment. Containment preserves energy. Preserved energy accumulates. Accumulated energy becomes authority. People with authority do not rush to explain themselves. Explanation is often a reaction to perceived threat. When you feel the need to explain, justify, or defend, energy leaks. When you feel grounded, there is no urgency to convince. Conviction speaks quietly. Reaction also ties you emotionally to outcomes you cannot control. You react to what others do, say, or think. This makes your emotional state dependent on variables outside your influence. Dependence weakens power. Response returns power inward. You choose how much energy to invest. You decide what matters. You regulate your internal environment regardless of external behavior. This is why emotional boundaries are essential to energy mastery. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They determine what enters and what does not. Without boundaries, everything gets in. With boundaries, only what aligns enters. Reaction ignores boundaries. Response enforces them. Many people leak energy through argument. Arguments feel like engagement, but they are often reactions fueled by ego. Ego seeks validation. Validation seeking drains energy. Response does not seek validation. It seeks alignment. You do not need to prove your worth to maintain power. The need to prove is itself a reaction rooted in insecurity. Reaction also accelerates time pressure. When you react, everything feels immediate. Immediate feels urgent. Urgency creates stress. Stress drains energy. Response slows time internally. Slowed internal time allows coherence. Coherence strengthens manifestation. That is why meditation, breathing, and mindfulness practices are effective. They train the pause. They interrupt reaction cycles. They create space. Space is power. Reaction creates emotional residue. After reacting, the body often stays activated long after the event ends. This residue affects sleep, focus, and mood. Over time, it accumulates as chronic tension. Chronic tension limits creativity and intuition. A tense system cannot receive subtle signals. It is always bracing. Response releases residue quickly. When you respond consciously, emotion moves through instead of getting stuck. Reaction also reinforces victimhood. When you react, you imply that something happened to you. When you respond, you reclaim agency. Agency is power. This does not mean suppressing emotion. Suppression creates internal pressure. Pressure eventually explodes. Energy mastery means feeling emotion without letting it drive behavior. You can feel anger without acting angrily. You can feel fear without making fearful decisions. You can feel disappointment without collapsing expectation. This separation is mastery. Every time you feel an emotion and choose a response instead of a reaction, you strengthen inner authority. Authority compounds. Over time, reactions decrease naturally. This is not discipline through force. It is discipline through awareness. Reaction is loud. Response is quiet. Quiet states are powerful because they are stable. Stability attracts alignment. Alignment attracts results. People who master energy often appear calm in situations that trigger others. This calm is not indifference. It is control of attention. Control of attention is control of energy. Reaction hands attention outward. Response keeps it inward. This inward stability changes how others treat you. People sense when someone cannot be easily provoked. Provocation loses its power. Respect increases. Respect is an energetic exchange. Reaction also affects language. When reacting, language becomes exaggerated, absolute, or emotional. Words like always, never, everything, or nothing appear. These words amplify emotional charge. Response uses measured language. Measured language reduces escalation. Reduced escalation preserves energy. Energy mastery is not about winning every moment. It is about conserving energy, so it can be used intentionally. Most people are exhausted not because they do too much, but because they react too much. Each reaction is a withdrawal from your energetic bank. Few people make deposits. Response is a deposit. When deposits exceed withdrawals, power grows. When power grows, life becomes more cooperative. Because reality responds to stability, not intensity. And stability is born in the space between stimulus and response. Calm energy is dominant energy, because it signals inner authority without force. In any environment, the state that is most regulated naturally leads. Chaos looks loud, but it is weak. Calm looks quiet, but it organizes everything around it. This is true in conversations, decision-making, manifestation, leadership, and spiritual power. Most people assume dominance comes from intensity, strong emotions, loud voices, urgency, or visible effort. In reality, intensity is often a sign of instability. Instability seeks control because it lacks it internally. Calm does not need to control. It already contains direction. The nervous system reads calm as safety. Safety invites cooperation. When you are calm, people listen more closely, opportunities approach more easily, and situations resolve with less resistance. This is not coincidence. It is regulation at work. A calm state tells the subconscious mind that everything is handled. When the subconscious receives this signal, it stops scanning for danger. It starts allocating resources toward creativity, opportunity recognition, and alignment. This shift alone can change outcomes dramatically. Dominant energy does not chase. Chasing implies lack. Calm energy attracts because it is settled. Settled energy creates a gravitational pull. Others feel it even if they cannot explain it. They describe it as confidence, presence, or something about you. Calm does not mean passive. It means grounded. Grounded people act decisively without panic. Panic creates mistakes. Calm creates precision. This is why people under pressure often make poor decisions. Their energy is fragmented. Fragmentation weakens effectiveness. Calm unifies attention. Unified attention is powerful. Calm energy also neutralizes opposition. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain calm, their energy has nowhere to land. Provocation feeds on reaction. Without reaction, it collapses. This gives calm an invisible dominance. Dominance through calm is not about overpowering others. It is about being unmovable internally. When your internal state is stable, external forces lose influence. Influence requires emotional access. Calm closes unnecessary access. This is why spiritual teachers, experienced leaders, and emotionally intelligent individuals rarely rush or raise their voices. They understand that speed and volume do not equal strength. Stability does. Calm energy also improves timing. When you are calm, you wait without anxiety and move without hesitation. You act when the moment is right, not when fear demands movement. Right timing creates effortless progress. Fear-based action creates friction. Calm-based action creates flow. In manifestation, calm is essential because the subconscious interprets calm as certainty. Certainty tells the system there is nothing to fix. When there is nothing to fix, reality reorganizes naturally. Trying to force manifestation through excitement, desperation, or urgency only reinforces the belief that it is not here yet. Calm collapses that distance. Calm feels like arrival. This is why many manifestations appear after someone gives up emotionally. They did not give up desire. They gave up resistance. Resistance is emotional agitation. Calm dissolves it. Calm also preserves energy. Emotional spikes drain energy quickly. Calm sustains it. Sustained energy builds momentum. Momentum attracts results. People who appear lucky often operate from calm expectation. They do not brace for disappointment. They assume things will work out. This assumption regulates their nervous system. Regulation creates clarity. Clarity leads to aligned action. Calm energy changes how you speak. Your words become slower, simpler, and more precise. Precision carries authority. Authority commands respect without demanding it. Calm energy also changes body language. Movements become intentional. Posture becomes open. Breathing deepens. These physical shifts further reinforce internal stability. The body and mind mirror each other. This loop is powerful. Calm mind regulates body. Regulated body reinforces calm mind. Together, they broadcast coherence. Coherence is magnetic. In contrast, anxious energy repels. Anxiety communicates uncertainty. Uncertainty makes others hesitant. Hesitation slows progress. Calm energy communicates trust. Trust accelerates cooperation. This applies internally as well. When you are calm, you trust yourself more. Self-trust reduces overthinking. Reduced overthinking frees intuition. Intuition guides you toward efficient paths. Efficient paths look like shortcuts to others, but they are simply the result of clarity. Calm energy also protects against burnout. Burnout comes from prolonged emotional activation. Calm resets the system continuously. Reset prevents depletion. This is why rest, silence, and stillness are not luxuries. They are power practices. They recalibrate energy. Many people fear calm because they associate it with loss of control or laziness. In truth, calm is control. It is control without tension. Tension pretends to be productivity. Calm produces results. When calm becomes your baseline, problems feel smaller. Solutions feel closer. Time feels less oppressive. These shifts are not psychological tricks. They are energetic realities. Calm energy also deepens presence. Presence increases awareness. Awareness allows better choices. Better choices compound into better outcomes. This is how calm becomes dominant over time, not through force, but through consistency. In any room, the most regulated nervous system sets the tone. That system leads whether it intends to or not. When you cultivate calm, you become that system. And when your inner world is calm, the outer world begins to follow its rhythm. Your nervous system controls your manifestation speed, because it determines whether your body and subconscious feel safe enough to allow change. Manifestation is not delayed by lack of desire or effort. It is delayed by perceived threat. The nervous system's primary job is survival, not success. When it senses danger, real or imagined, it prioritizes protection over expansion. This single function explains why so many people want more, but remain stuck. The nervous system does not respond to logic. It responds to signals. Those signals come from your breathing, posture, emotional tone, internal dialogue, and habitual reactions. If your system is tense, rushed, or anxious, it interprets life unsafe. In an unsafe state, it slows down change, avoids risk, and resists unfamiliar outcomes, even positive ones. This is why stress is incompatible with fast manifestation. Stress narrows perception and locks the body into fight or flight. In this mode, creativity drops, intuition quiets, and opportunities are overlooked. You may still work hard, but the work becomes inefficient. Effort increases while results slow. Many people mistake adrenaline for momentum. Adrenaline feels like action, but it is a survival chemical. It burns energy quickly and leaves exhaustion behind. Sustainable manifestation requires parasympathetic activation states of calm, regulation, and grounded presence. These states tell the subconscious that resources can safely arrive and stay. Your nervous system also determines what feels familiar. Familiarity equals safety. Even if your current situation is uncomfortable, if it is familiar, the system prefers it over unfamiliar improvement. This is why people self-sabotage when things start going well. Improvement feels unknown. Unknown feels risky. When abundance, love, or success trigger nervous system activation, the body reacts before the mind can intervene. Procrastination appears. Doubt increases. Distractions multiply. These are not character flaws. They are protective responses. The system is attempting to return you to what feels known. Speed increases when safety increases. Safety is not created by affirmations alone. It is created through regulation. Regulation comes from slowing the breath, relaxing the body, softening the jaw and shoulders, and reducing internal urgency. These physical cues send powerful messages to the subconscious. When you calm your body, your thoughts naturally slow. When thoughts slow, attention stabilizes. When attention stabilizes, intention becomes clear. Clear intention accelerates manifestation. This is why meditation, breathwork, and stillness practices are so effective, not because they manifest directly, but because they regulate the nervous system. Regulation removes internal resistance. Without resistance, movement becomes natural. A regulated nervous system also improves timing. You stop rushing actions and start responding accurately. Accurate action produces better outcomes than rushed action. Better outcomes reinforce safety. Safety further regulates the system. This creates an upward spiral. Dysregulated systems chase results. Regulated systems attract them. Your relationship with uncertainty is another nervous system issue. Many people fear not knowing when or how something will happen. That fear keeps the system activated. Activation slows results. Learning to tolerate uncertainty without tension is a powerful accelerator. Tolerance does not mean indifference. It means remaining calm while things unfold. Calm allows integration. Integration allows manifestation to solidify. Sleep quality is another indicator. Poor sleep signals nervous system overload. Overload reduces subconscious receptivity. Deep rest restores capacity. Capacity determines volume. This is why sleep-based manifestations and nighttime affirmations can work well if they promote relaxation rather than pressure. Relaxed repetition integrates. Tense repetition resists. The nervous system also filters perception. When regulated, it allows novelty. When dysregulated, it blocks it. Novelty is essential for manifestation because results often arrive through unexpected channels. If your system is braced, you miss them. You can observe your manifestation speed by noticing how quickly you relax after stress. If it takes hours or days, the system is holding tension. Held tension equals delayed integration. Small daily regulation practices compound. 5 minutes of slow breathing, quiet walking, or stillness done consistently trains the system to trust. Trust speeds everything. Language affects the nervous system too. Words like hurry, late, behind, and urgent activate stress. Words like steady, handled, aligned, and moving calm the system. Calm language is not denial. It is instruction. Your environment matters. Noise, clutter, and constant stimulation keep the nervous system alert. Alert systems cannot receive deeply. Simplifying environment simplifies internal state. Nutrition, hydration, and movement also play roles. Blood sugar crashes, dehydration, and sedentary habits all increase irritability and stress. Stress slows manifestation. This does not mean you must be perfect. It means awareness matters. Gentle adjustments matter. The fastest manifestors are not the most emotional or intense. They are the most regulated. They move through challenges without prolonged activation. They return to baseline quickly. Baseline is key. If your baseline is tension, results trickle. If your baseline is calm expectancy, results flow. Calm expectancy feels like knowing without excitement. It feels settled. Settled states are magnetic. When the nervous system feels safe, the subconscious stops defending and starts building. Building is manifestation. You do not need to convince your mind. You need to reassure your body. Reassurance happens through presence, patience, and regulation. As regulation becomes habitual, speed increases naturally. Because what slows manifestation is not the universe. It is a nervous system that hasn't yet learned it is safe to receive. Words shape energy before reality, because language is the bridge between thought and form. Long before something appears in the physical world, it exists as a pattern of meaning, assumption, and expectation. Words give that pattern structure. They turn vague thought into direction. Reality follows direction, not desire. Every word carries an energetic charge. This charge is created by repetition, emotion, and belief. When you repeat words consistently, they stop being expressions and start becoming instructions. The subconscious listens not to what you say once, but to what you say habitually. Most people speak without awareness. Their language reflects circumstances instead of directing them. They describe what is happening, what is wrong, what is missing, and what is difficult. This seems harmless, but description is reinforcement. When you describe a situation repeatedly, you stabilize it energetically. Words are not neutral. Saying I'm broke, I'm tired, this is hard, or nothing ever works out may feel honest. But honesty without awareness is not power. These phrases train the subconscious to accept limitation as identity. Identity then reproduces itself through experience. The subconscious mind does not analyze language for accuracy. It absorbs patterns. If a phrase is repeated often enough, it becomes familiar. Familiarity feels true. What feels true becomes real. This is why affirmations work only when they are consistent and emotionally neutral. Shouting positive statements while emotionally tense creates contradiction. Contradiction weakens instruction. Calm, repeated language carries authority. Authority in speech does not come from volume or enthusiasm. It comes from certainty. Certainty is felt, not forced. When words are spoken from a settled state, they impress the subconscious deeply. Words also shape emotional state. Certain phrases activate stress. Others activate calm. When you say I have to, pressure increases. When you say I choose to, autonomy increases. These small shifts change how the nervous system responds. The nervous system then shapes perception and behavior. Behavior follows emotion. Emotion follows language. This chain operates constantly, even when you are not consciously manifesting. Your inner dialogue is running scripts all day long. Those scripts determine how you interpret events. Interpretation determines reaction. Reaction determines outcome. Inner language is often harsher than outer language. People may speak positively to others while criticizing themselves internally. The subconscious listens more closely to the inner voice. If the inner voice is doubtful, fearful, or dismissive, it overrides external affirmations. Manifestation accelerates when inner and outer language align. Alignment removes friction. Friction slows energy. Words also affect time perception. Saying it's taking forever stretches time emotionally. Saying things are moving collapses it. The subconscious responds to perceived timing, not clocks. This is why some people experience rapid shifts while others wait for years. The difference is not luck. It is linguistic conditioning. Language creates emotional posture. Emotional posture influences how life approaches you. Someone who speaks with expectation invites opportunity. Someone who speaks with resignation invites delay. You can hear this in tone. Tone communicates belief more than words themselves. A calm, it's handled carries more power than an excited, it's coming. Because the calm tone implies completion. Completion is magnetic. Words also shape boundaries. When you say, "I don't tolerate that," energy shifts immediately. Boundaries clarify instruction. Clarity strengthens outcomes. Unclear language produces unclear results. Saying "I want" keeps desire in motion. Saying "I expect" grounds it. Saying "I allow" opens reception. The subconscious responds differently to each verb. Wanting implies lack. Expecting implies familiarity. Allowing implies permission. Permission is crucial. Many people unconsciously deny themselves permission to receive. Their language reflects this through apology, hesitation, and self-minimization. These patterns quietly block flow. Words like "sorry," "just maybe," and "hopefully" weaken authority when overused. They suggest uncertainty. Uncertainty confuses instruction. This does not mean becoming aggressive or arrogant. It means becoming clear. Clarity is kindness to the subconscious. Language also shapes memory. How you talk about the past determines how much power it holds. If you repeatedly narrate old failures, the energy remains active. If you reframe them as lessons, the charge dissolves. The past only has power if language keeps it alive. Words shape expectation. Expectation shapes perception. Perception filters reality. You do not see what is there. You see what you expect to see. Expectation is trained linguistically. This is why people miss opportunities that are directly in front of them. Their language has trained them to expect difficulty, rejection, or delay. The mind filters out anything that contradicts expectation. When language changes, filters change. Words also influence intuition. Intuition communicates subtly. If your inner language is loud, judgmental, or anxious, intuition cannot be heard. When language softens, intuition rises. Silence is also language. What you choose not to say matters. Refraining from negative narration preserves energy. You do not need to comment on everything. Commentary creates attachment. Attachment binds energy. Neutral observation frees it. Speaking the desired end as though it were already established is vital. Not emotionally, but factually. Fact-based language impresses the subconscious more than emotional pleading. Pleading implies lack of power. Statement implies authority. Authority does not demand. It declares. Words also affect others' behavior. People respond to expectation unconsciously. When you speak as someone who expects cooperation, cooperation increases. When you speak as someone who expects resistance, resistance appears. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. Your language sets the tone of every interaction. Tone shapes outcomes. Over time, language becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. You do not need to monitor every word obsessively. Obsession creates tension. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates change. Begin by noticing repeated phrases. These are your subconscious contracts. Rewrite them gently. Replace "this always happens to me" with "things are changing." Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "it's hard" with "it's unfolding." Small changes compound. The goal is not perfection. The goal is direction. When your words consistently point toward alignment, energy follows, and when energy follows, reality has no choice but to reorganize. Consistency creates energetic authority because energy responds to reliability, not intensity. Authority is built when your inner state becomes predictable, steady, and aligned over time. The universe does not follow what you feel occasionally. It follows what you return to repeatedly. Consistency tells life, your subconscious and your nervous system, that this is who you are now. Most people operate in emotional cycles. One day they feel motivated, confident, and aligned. The next day they doubt, worry, and overthink. These swings weaken energetic authority because the signal keeps changing. Reality cannot organize around instability. When the signal shifts constantly, results stall. Energetic authority is not about being positive all the time. It is about being internally consistent. You can feel emotions without abandoning your assumption. You can experience doubt without changing your identity. Authority comes from staying anchored even when emotions fluctuate. Think of energy like a command system. If commands keep changing, execution pauses. When commands remain stable, execution begins. Your subconscious is the executor. It waits for consistency before acting. This is why brief motivation rarely creates lasting change. Motivation spikes energy temporarily, but lacks staying power. Authority is built through repetition, not excitement. Calm repetition trains expectation. Expectation shapes reality. Consistency also builds trust internally and externally. When you consistently return to the same assumption, you begin to trust yourself. Self-trust stabilizes emotion. Stable emotion strengthens signal. Strong signal accelerates response. People with energetic authority do not rush to correct every emotion. They allow feelings to pass without reorganizing belief. This ability separates temporary states from permanent identity. Identity is what reality mirrors. The inconsistent people negotiate with their emotions. They let feelings decide what is true. Consistent people let truth guide feelings. This reversal is powerful. Consistency also reduces mental noise. When you stop switching beliefs, techniques, and expectations, the mind settles. A settled mind concentrates energy. Concentrated energy has force. Force does not come from pushing. It comes from coherence. Coherence means your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions are pointing in the same direction most of the time. Even slight coherence maintained daily outperforms extreme effort done sporadically. This is why small daily alignment practices are so effective. 5 minutes of steady intention repeated daily builds more authority than 1 hour of emotional intensity once a week. The subconscious responds to rhythm. Rhythm creates familiarity. Familiarity creates safety. Safety allows expansion. Consistency also protects energy from external influence. When your inner state is steady, opinions, delays, or setbacks do not derail you. You observe without absorbing. Absorption drains energy. Observation preserves it. People without consistency are easily influenced. Their energy shifts based on mood, news, feedback, or comparison. This makes their signal reactive instead of directive. Directive energy leads. Reactive energy follows. Energetic authority means you lead your internal world instead of letting circumstances lead it for you. Leadership begins within. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means not allowing reality to dictate your inner alignment. You respond strategically instead of emotionally. Consistency also affects timing. When your signal is stable, reality does not need to wait for you to decide. Decision is already made energetically. Movement begins. Many manifestations delay because the inner decision keeps changing. One day you expect success. The next day you expect disappointment. The system pauses, waiting for clarity. Clarity comes from repetition. Consistency also eliminates desperation. Desperation is a sign of instability. It appears when energy spikes without grounding. Grounding comes from routine alignment. When you know you will return to your state no matter what happens, urgency dissolves. Without urgency, resistance drops. This is why people often experience breakthroughs after they stop caring. They did not stop caring about the outcome. They stopped emotionally oscillating. The signal stabilized. Stability is authority. Energetic authority also changes how others treat you. People sense when someone is internally anchored. Anchored people feel trustworthy, competent, and reliable. Opportunities naturally move toward them. This is not charisma. It is coherence. Consistency also shapes self-image. Each time you return to alignment instead of reacting, you reinforce an identity of control. That identity becomes embodied. Embodied identity is powerful. Embodied beliefs manifest faster than intellectual ones. Consistency also conserves energy. Emotional swings are exhausting. Stability preserves vitality. Preserved vitality fuels creativity, intuition, and presence. Presence amplifies everything. Energetic authority is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not prove. It does not persuade. It simply exists. People with authority do not need constant reassurance. They trust their direction. That trust is felt. Consistency also teaches patience. Patience is not waiting. It is remaining aligned while things unfold. That state tells reality there is no conflict. Conflict slows manifestation. Alignment accelerates it. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be loyal to your chosen state. Loyalty builds authority. Every time you choose alignment again, even after slipping, authority grows. Authority compounds. This is why progress often feels invisible until it suddenly becomes undeniable. Authority builds beneath the surface. Once authority is established, reality responds quickly because it recognizes stability. Reality does not follow wishful thinking. It follows consistency. Energy mastery begins with self-respect because energy responds first to how you treat yourself before it responds to what you want. Your life is not reacting to your desires. It is reflecting your standards. Every boundary you enforce or ignore sends a signal. Every thought you allow, every word you tolerate from yourself or others, every way you spend your time tells energy how to behave around you. Self-respect is not confidence. It is not ego. It is not loud self-belief. It is quiet discipline in how you relate to your inner world. When self-respect is weak, energy leaks. When self-respect is strong, energy consolidates. Most people believe they lack energy because they are tired, stressed, or unlucky. In reality, they lack energy because they give it away unconsciously. They say yes when their body says no. They stay where they are not valued. They entertain thoughts that weaken them. They speak about themselves in ways they would never allow others to speak to them. This is not humility. This is energetic self-abandonment. Energy follows self-honor. When you consistently choose what aligns with your well-being, your nervous system relaxes. A relaxed system holds more power. Power does not come from force. It comes from containment. Self-respect is containment. Every time you ignore your intuition, energy fragments. Every time you override your inner signals to please, prove, or avoid discomfort, energy scatters. Scattered energy is weak energy. Focused energy is strong. Self-respect teaches your subconscious that you are safe with yourself. Safety is critical. An unsafe inner environment keeps the body in survival mode. Survival mode blocks expansion. You cannot attract abundance while signaling danger internally. Many people attempt manifestation techniques without addressing self-respect. They repeat affirmations while tolerating disrespect. They visualize wealth while living in depletion. The subconscious does not respond to words. It responds to behavior. Behavior reveals belief. If you do not protect your time, your energy assumes it is not valuable. If you do not protect your body, your energy assumes it is disposable. If you do not protect your attention, your energy assumes chaos is normal. Self-respect is expressed in small, consistent choices, going to sleep when your body asks for rest, ending conversations that drain you, choosing silence over explanation, choosing progress over approval, choosing alignment over urgency. Energy mastery is not about adding rituals. It is about removing violations. Violations of self are the biggest energy drain. When you respect yourself, you stop negotiating with your lowest impulses. You stop bargaining with fear. You stop justifying misalignment. This creates internal clarity. Clarity strengthens signal. A person with self-respect does not chase energy externally. They do not beg for validation. They do not seek permission to exist fully. Their energy becomes self-sustaining. Self-respect also changes posture, tone, and presence. The body carries authority when it is not internally conflicted. This authority is felt by others before it is understood. This is why some people are taken seriously without trying. Energy responds to boundaries faster than to affirmations. A boundary says, "This is who I am." The universe responds to identity, not requests. When you respect your time, time expands. When you respect your money, money stabilizes. When you respect your body, vitality increases. These are not coincidences, they are reflections. Self-respect also dissolves resentment. Resentment is stored energy from unexpressed boundaries. When you begin honoring yourself, resentment releases. Released energy becomes available for creation. Many people confuse self-sacrifice with virtue, but chronic self-sacrifice weakens energy. True service comes from overflow, not depletion. You cannot give what you do not have. Self-respect does not make you rigid, it makes you clear. Clarity allows flexibility without collapse. When you respect yourself, you no longer over-explain. Over-explaining is an energetic apology for existing. Apologetic energy repels abundance. You also stop tolerating internal disrespect, negative self-talk, harsh inner criticism, constant comparison. These are forms of self-attack. Energy cannot flow freely in a hostile environment. Energy mastery requires a peaceful inner climate. Peace is not passive. Peace is protected. Self-respect also trains patience. You stop rushing outcomes because you trust yourself to remain steady. Trust removes urgency. Urgency distorts energy. When you move with self-respect, you move slower but stronger. Strong energy does not hurry. Your standards become your signal. What you accept becomes your frequency. What you walk away from defines your power. Self-respect also affects manifestation timing. When you stop settling, reality reorganizes. What no longer matches falls away. This can feel uncomfortable, but it is corrective, not destructive. Many breakthroughs happen after people finally say no to situations, habits, or versions of themselves that drain them. That no frees energy. Self-respect is saying yes to alignment even when it costs comfort. Comfort without alignment is expensive. Alignment without comfort is temporary. Energy mastery begins the moment you stop betraying yourself for short-term relief. Every act of self-honor strengthens your energetic spine. A strong energetic spine allows you to hold desire without desperation. It allows you to want without needing. Needing collapses energy. Wanting with self-respect expands it. You do not attract what you affirm. You attract what you tolerate. Change tolerance and energy shifts automatically. Self-respect is not something you announce. It is something you embody through consistent action. Energy watches what you do, not what you say. When self-respect becomes non-negotiable, energy reorganizes around you. Situations improve, opportunities appear. People respond differently, not because you demanded it, but because you finally aligned with your own value. You do not attract what you want, because wanting itself implies separation. Wanting says, I do not have this yet. Energy listens to identity, not desire. Reality responds to who you are being on a consistent basis, not what you are hoping will arrive someday. This is one of the most misunderstood principles in manifestation and energy mastery. Your external world is a mirror, not a vending machine. It does not deliver based on requests. It reflects based on state. Whatever feels normal to you internally becomes visible externally. Whatever feels distant internally remains distant outside. This is why people can want money, love, peace, or success for years and never experience it. Their inner identity is not aligned with having it. Being is stronger than thinking. You can think about wealth while being insecure. You can visualize abundance while being anxious. The dominant state always wins. Energy follows dominance. Most people confuse effort with embodiment. They work hard to change circumstances without changing self-concept. But circumstances are downstream from identity. Identity is the source. If you internally see yourself as struggling, reality must confirm struggle. If you see yourself as chosen, capable, and supported, reality reorganizes to match that assumption. This happens regardless of logic, background, or past experience. This law operates automatically. There is no judgment involved. Reality is neutral. It simply reflects. People often say, "I'm doing everything right. So why isn't it working?" What they are really asking is, why haven't their actions overridden their identity? But actions cannot overpower self-image. Actions flow from self-image. If deep down you feel unworthy, you will sabotage opportunities. If you feel unsafe with abundance, you will unconsciously push it away. If you feel unfamiliar with peace, you will recreate chaos. These patterns are not punishment. They are alignment. Your nervous system plays a major role here. The body seeks familiarity, not happiness. If stress is familiar, calm feels threatening. If lack is familiar, abundance feels unstable. The body will return you to what it knows unless you retrain it. This is why sudden success often collapses for people. Their identity cannot hold it yet. Energy expands only to the level of self-acceptance. Becoming is not pretending. It is normalizing. When something feels normal internally, it appears externally without resistance. You attract conversations that match your self-view. You attract opportunities that match your confidence level. You attract money that matches your comfort with responsibility and visibility. People who attract easily are not necessarily more skilled. They are more congruent. Their thoughts, emotions, and expectations align. Incongruence creates friction. Friction slows manifestation. You cannot vibrate "I am abundant" while emotionally living in fear and expect stable results. Temporary results may appear, but they will not last because the identity has not changed. Identity shifts through repetition and experience, not force. You do not fight the old identity. You outgrow it by consistently choosing a new internal position. This is why language matters, not affirmation spoken once, but inner dialogue spoken daily. The way you talk to yourself in quiet moments reveals who you are being. Identity is revealed when no one is watching. What you assume after disappointment shows who you are. What you expect after delay shows who you are. What you believe about yourself when things go wrong defines your energetic baseline. You attract people who treat you the way you treat yourself internally. If you criticize yourself, you attract criticism. If you respect yourself, respect follows. This principle removes the need to chase. Chasing implies lack. Embodiment implies presence. When you become the state, you stop waiting. Waiting ends resistance. Resistance delays manifestation. This does not mean you never want anything. It means you want from fullness, not emptiness. Desire from fullness feels calm. Desire from emptiness feels urgent. Urgency repels. Calm attracts. Your outer life is responding to your inner posture. Posture is energetic. Are you collapsed inward or upright internally? Are you bracing for disappointment or expecting support? Expectation shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. Identity also affects timing. When you become something internally, reality does not need to convince you. It simply confirms you. Many manifestations arrive suddenly not because the universe decided, but because the person finally shifted internally. The moment alignment occurred, delay ended. This is why manifestation feels instantaneous at higher levels. There is no resistance to overcome. Being also simplifies manifestation. You no longer need complex techniques. Your state does the work. A person who is grounded attracts stability. A person who is generous attracts flow. A person who is certain attracts opportunities. Certainty does not mean knowing how. It means knowing who. Who you are being when no results are visible matters more than who you are being when things are going well. Stability during silence builds authority. You are always manifesting. Even when nothing seems to be happening, the invisible phase is when identity is catching up to intention. If you want different results, ask a different question. Not how do I get this? But who must I be for this to be normal? Normal is the key word. Reality mirrors normal. When wealth feels normal, it stays. When love feels normal, it repeats. When peace feels normal, it deepens. Your job is not to force outcomes. Your job is to become the version of yourself for whom those outcomes are ordinary. Energy responds to embodiment, not effort. This is why inner work is the real work. External strategies amplify identity, but they cannot replace it. When you shift who you are, what you attract has no choice but to change. Because reality always agrees with identity. Silence strengthens power. Because energy amplifies when it is contained instead of scattered. Most people weaken their energy not through action, but through excessive explanation, emotional leakage, and constant verbalization of thoughts that were never meant to leave the inner world. Silence is not emptiness, it is compression. And compressed energy is force. Every time you speak unnecessarily, you release energy outward. Words are carriers. They move intention, emotion, and identity into the external field. When words are spoken without awareness, energy disperses. When words are withheld with intention, energy concentrates. Powerful people are rarely loud. They do not narrate their plans, justify their feelings, or announce their next move. This is not secrecy out of fear. It is restraint born from awareness. They understand that not every thought needs a voice, and not every intention needs witnesses. Silence protects alignment. When you speak too soon, you invite opinions, doubt, and interference. Other people's reactions can destabilize your internal state. Silence preserves momentum. It allows ideas, intentions, and assumptions to mature internally before facing the external world. The subconscious responds strongly to silence. When you stop talking, mental noise reduces. Reduced noise allows deeper layers of belief to surface. Silence gives the nervous system space to regulate. A regulated nervous system holds more power. Silence also reveals truth. When you stop filling space with words, you begin to notice what is actually happening inside you. You hear intuition more clearly. You recognize misalignment faster. You become less reactive because you are no longer feeding emotional loops with speech. Many people speak to discharge discomfort. They talk to relieve anxiety, to feel validated, to escape uncertainty, but relief through speech is temporary. It leaks energy. Silence forces integration instead of release. Integration builds strength. Energy mastery requires containment. Containment does not mean suppression. It means conscious holding. You feel emotions fully without broadcasting them. You process thoughts internally without immediately sharing them. This creates internal cohesion. Silence also changes how others perceive you. People instinctively assign authority to those who speak less but with intention. Sparse speech feels deliberate. Deliberate speech feels powerful. Power attracts attention without demanding it. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. They land deeper. They influence more. This is because silence creates contrast. In a noisy world, restraint is magnetic. Silence also trains discipline. Not every impulse needs expression. Not every emotion needs commentary. This discipline spills into other areas: spending, reacting, choosing. Controlled expression reflects controlled energy. People who lack silence often lack boundaries. They overshare, overexplain, overcommit. These behaviors stem from insecurity, not openness. True openness does not require constant output. Silence builds mystery. Mystery keeps energy alive. When everything is explained, energy collapses into logic. When something is held, it remains charged. This is especially important in manifestation. Speaking about desires before they are embodied often weakens them. Words externalize intention before identity is ready to support it. Silence allows the assumption to stabilize internally. Many manifestations fail because they were talked about instead of lived. Lived assumptions radiate silently. Spoken desires often seek validation. Silence also dissolves resistance. When you stop arguing with reality verbally, inner conflict reduces. Conflict is energy drain. Acceptance without narration restores flow. Silence is also a form of listening. When you are silent, you receive information that speech blocks. Intuition, timing cues, and subtle signals become clearer. Energy guidance requires quiet. A noisy mind cannot perceive direction. Silence tunes perception. People often fear silence because it exposes inner discomfort, but that discomfort is exactly what needs attention. Silence brings unresolved energy to the surface, so it can be integrated. This integration strengthens presence. Presence is energetic weight. When someone is fully present, they feel solid. Solidity is power. Silence also prevents premature identity shifts. When you announce a change before embodying it, the brain can confuse declaration with completion. This reduces follow-through. Silence keeps the focus on becoming, not proving. In relationships, silence prevents emotional escalation. Reacting verbally escalates energy. Pausing allows clarity. Clarity leads to power. In decision-making, silence creates space between impulse and action. That space is where wisdom lives. Wisdom is efficient energy. Silence also strengthens self-trust. When you stop seeking external validation through speech, you rely more on internal confirmation. Internal confirmation stabilizes identity. Identity stabilized through silence is less vulnerable to external fluctuation. Praise does not inflate it. Criticism does not deflate it. This neutrality preserves energy. Silence does not mean withdrawal. It means selective expression. You speak when words add value, not when they relieve tension. People with strong energy are economical with words. They conserve emotional output. Conservation allows accumulation. Accumulated energy manifests faster because it has pressure behind it. Pressure creates movement. This is why many breakthroughs happen after periods of quiet. Energy gathers, alignment solidifies, then reality responds suddenly. Silence also sharpens intention. When you stop explaining, you clarify internally. Clarity simplifies energy flow. Silence reduces the need to control outcomes. Talking is often an attempt to manage uncertainty. Silence accepts uncertainty without panic. Acceptance removes resistance. Silence also deepens spiritual connection. Many traditions emphasize stillness because stillness aligns inner and outer fields. Energy harmonizes in quiet. In silence, you become less fragmented. Fragmentation weakens power. Coherence strengthens it. Silence also changes self-perception. You stop seeing yourself as a performer and start seeing yourself as a presence. Presence attracts. People feel safe around silent confidence. Safety is magnetic. Energy mastery is not about doing more. It is about leaking less. Silence seals leaks. When silence becomes natural, effort reduces. You no longer feel compelled to explain yourself, defend your position, or announce your worth. Worth becomes assumed. Assumed worth radiates. Silence also aligns timing. You act when energy is ripe, instead of when emotion spikes. This precision conserves force. Precision multiplies results. Ultimately, silence is not absence of sound, it is presence of awareness. Awareness directs energy efficiently. The quieter your inner world becomes, the louder your life responds. because contained energy moves mountains without making noise. When your energy is calm, contained, and certain, life no longer needs to be convinced. What you hold in silence begins to move everything in your favor. Thank you.